Live. Wait, it's coming up.
Maybe.
Cheers.
You know, I've seen your stream.
There we are.
There we are. Okay, and we're live now. Hello, everyone. I'm Ross, and we are from the Otherworld original Dungeons and Dragons Clubhouse. What we do in Otherworld is we have the 3 little brown books, they're called, of the original game, original Dungeons and Dragons, and we try to just play the game and see what happens. And we also try to play it in the context in some of the things it describes. So we have dozens of people playing all in the same fantasy adventure war game at the same time. Another thing that we do is we have a book club. So every quarter we go over a book from Appendix N of the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Master's Guide, the foundational fiction or texts, the literature that is the what I call the oil that makes the machine of Dungeons and Dragons run. And so last quarter we went over King of Elfland's Daughter, which was a ton of fun. I had a lot of big feelings about it, a lot of big opinions. And so I did a lot of talking. I'm not going to do that with this one. I'm interested to hear from my friends. This quarter, we went over Robert E. Howard's The Tower of the Elephant. And a few things before we begin, and then we'll go around the table and introduce everybody, and we'll get started right away talking about the story. First of all, if you got kids watching, go back and watch Miss Rachel or whatever. Listen, y'all, the stuff in this text, hard rated R. We're going to talk about anything and everything tonight. So hard rated R tonight. The other thing is it's going to be full of spoilers. This is 40 pages. 40 pages is all it is. Go ahead and stop this right now. Watch it later. If you don't want spoilers. So that's 2 things. And then let me introduce my friends. I'll just call them out by name and then like kind of give me a, hey, this is the kind of gamer I am. I'll start with Lane and we'll go counterclockwise. Lane, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Lane Bowen. Let's see, game. I don't play as much OD&D as probably some of these people in the group. I have played it before. Mostly, I guess I'm the resident Dungeon and Crawl Classics guy. I play mostly Dungeon Crawl Classics. I have a campaign I've been running for a while, and that currently on a little bit of a hiatus, but hope to get back to it and play some games soon. And I also really like all the old Pulp Appendix N stuff, so that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, Lane is definitely a literary person, sort of a literature expert in Mythic Mountains Clubhouse. And yeah, y'all, I've played off and on in that Dungeon Crawl Classics campaign since 2020 for 6 years. It's crazy. And it is wild, and it is it is the modern Appendix N role playing game. That's my opinion, actually. That's what Dungeon Crawl Classics is. So good to have you tonight, Lane. Ryan.
Hey, Ryan. Play a lot of AD&D, OD&D. Yeah, like that stuff. I make a whole bunch of things that probably 2 people will never use, but shout out for those 2 people who download my things. Yeah, I'm getting into Appendix N, probably not as well read as a lot of people. I've read some of the hits. I have read a lot of Robert E. Howard, and I actually haven't read this story. Somehow I skipped it, so I was super pumped to read it. Not a big fan of King of Elfland's Daughter. Little English for me. This one, not so much. This is a Texan, and by God, you know it.
Dude, okay, maybe I do got to share my opinions later. Yeah, I feel it. I felt the Texan. I moved to Texas, and I feel it. It's just like, man, let's see. Yeah, Insurgent Inchworm on itch.io. You've got the best tables. You got Metamorphosis Alpha. You got you got Gamma World. You got original Dungeons and Dragons. It's great. I think you should just keep making tables, but I don't want to do that to you.
My wife disagrees.
Yeah. All right, Steve.
Hello, I'm Steve. I've been, with Mythic Mountains for what, 6 years now? Maybe 7. Was it 2019? Playing a lot of OD&D lately. Do a lot of solo. Probably haven't seen in a whole lot of things, but I've also called solo rolo in some things. Really excited about the whole Appendix End adventure. Any opportunity to read something off there to get a chance to dive in, because I haven't dove into a lot of it, but to read and reread and reread some Howard, always a good time.
Yeah, man, Steve, we've been playing games together. Yeah, it's been like 7 years. It's crazy. We did a 14-month long old school essentials campaign. We did. We've done. You played in Otherworld. You have characters that are still hanging around in original. They've done kind of a system drift over time until we ended up with original D&D. But yeah, we've played a lot of old school and classic D&D over the years. And now, like, the solo gamers are getting their due with this clubhouse stuff. Like, all of a sudden, the solo gamers are needed. Like, hey, how do we do this? And you all have been doing that for years, so that's pretty great. All right, Tanner.
Hey people, good to see you again. And as you can see, over the last couple of months, I've metamorphed from a troll into an angelic elephant from the planet Yag, so that's been pretty interesting. Before that, though, I've been very much an OSR dabbler and Appendix N nut. I've been on Mystic Mountains for a few years now. I've recently joined the real-time OD&D wargame. Right now I'm going through a bit of I've played Axe, I played Dragon Slayer, I've been on a bit of an AD&D 1 kick. However, hey Jordan, a close friend has gotten me into 7th Voyages at long last, and that's been really fun. And yeah, Tony in particular has a bit of is a bit of a soft spot for me, because back when I got into D&D, shortly thereafter I got into H.P. Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard, and as some of you who know the story know, it was like an atom bomb in my prepubescent mind. I had never read anything like this with like nudity and cosmic horror and this much blood and thunder, and there was pretty much no going back from there.
Oh man, Tanner is like, first of all, he's this guy gets around with online old school D&D. He plays in was it Maddie's or you played in that Temple of Elemental Evil.
And if he's listening, Matthias, I am more than happy to play again sometimes.
Yeah.
Don't be scared to tap my shoulder.
Tanner and I played, speaking of Dungeon Crawl Classics, in like a 9-month-long Dungeon Crawl Classics campaign, which was awesome, actually, in my opinion.
We played a little Warhammer Fantasy roleplay together.
We did. We played Warhammer Fantasy First Edition. And you, Tanner's like my mentat. Like, I'm just like, what does it say about this in the Hadiths, Tanner? And Tanner just like knows about like.
Which is pretty impressive, because I actually can't stand Dune.
Especially
Rosky's Dune.
Gonna have to. Those are fighting words. Yeah. Oh,
hey,
no.
I say we politely disagree. I still respect your viewpoints and your knowledge. And that brings us to our special guest of honor, doesn't it?
Yes, our guest of honor. Who is this guy? Yeah.
Oh, geez, guys, I'm just a thanks a lot for having me, Ross. Short introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm Prince. I have an old school gaming review blog that's been around for a couple of years. I've written a couple of adventures. Among, I think the most successful one would be like Palace of Unquiet Repose. Pretty decently known. And if you're recent, you may remember me from the no art punk adventure design competition, very uncontroversial competition, very boring. But it was kind of like about people sort of reconnecting with a classical or old school Dungeons and Dragons, and kind of like experiencing the core and the essence of it. Pretty fun. My game of choice is AD&D, although I've played Axe and various other editions as well, of course. And yeah, I've always been a big proponent of Appendix N. Rob E. Howard being very high in that listing. So when I got the invitation from Ross, I couldn't say no, even though it's 5 o'clock in the morning here. So yeah, great to be here, guys.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I want to kind of explain that invitation because when I've been really just busy, but I had the stream scheduled and I was coming up toward the end of a big thing at my work right before getting this stream ready, and so I reached out to Prince because I was like, this is Prince has done a lot. You've done a lot lately on adventure design, like trying to, like you said, the kind of classic adventure gaming, the sort of technical acumen of like actually getting the adventures made very well. And so a lot of your stuff is about like the adventures being really high quality, and that is cool. But then what I find really interesting is your advocacy for the literature side of it. And of course, we all love this literature, but what I was interested in your content is you have sort of advocated for like, hey, this is really important. So I thought you'd be perfect for this conversation, which leads to probably my main question tonight, which we'll get to in a minute. So anyways, that's who's joining us. So let's hop right into it, and we'll go around the room. I'm going to start with Lane. And so, Lane, I'm going to ask you this. Everybody else will go around, and you can just add to it, right? Like if there's, there's this, please do. But the first thing is, Lane, what is this? The Tower of the Elephant. What is it? What is this?
Okay, well, so it's a pretty archetypal Conan. I mean, the foundations, lots of foundations of D&D in this, but Conan starts off in a bar, murders professional woman kidnapper, finds out about a cool place to rob, goes there, decides to rob it, even though after kind of almost guilted into it, or not, or shamed into it, goes to rob the Tower of the Elephant. Nobody even knows why it's even called that. There he meets the King of Thieves, who decides, hey, you're here to rob this place, me too. And they get along, maybe. They get past the guards, kill some lions, scale a tower. The King of Thieves mysteriously dies, and turns out at the top of the tower there's a giant spider, which I'm sure we'll discuss later, and breaking into the heist dungeon crawl, so to speak, and where what is it? You're run-of-the-mill cosmic elephant god that's actually some space alien from the planet Yig, and maybe a little bit more cosmic than that. And where eventually feel some pity for some cosmic gods and capture or kill or banish whatever as sorcerer. I'm sure some people can fill in the blanks there because I'm making perfect sense. But it does if you read the story. And then, of course, the tower falls and he runs away.
Awesome summary. Yeah, that's great. So as we go around, you don't have to add anything if you don't want, but if, or you could say, actually, this is an alternate perspective. This is also kind of what it is, or whatever, or you can add. Ryan, do you got anything to add to that summary?
It's pretty much it. I mean, it's literally a D&D one shot. Like if you're at a convention, it's like, hey, you're at an inn and some guy's talking smack. Okay, we go up to him and we're gonna obviously fight this guy. Okay, what was he talking about? Oh, he's gonna steal something. Okay, let's go steal something. Like, literally could have been a very like someone just did a report, an after-action report of their game, and it's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That was a pretty cool game, huh? It's like, yeah, we all died.
But what about you, Steve? What is this story?
What I've gotten written down is haughty young barbarian gets told he can't loot a tower. Does it anyway. Makes friends, frees a cosmic being, kills the wizard. Good time had by all.
Indeed.
All right, what about you, Tanner?
I'm actually going to take a little bit of a different approach because everything you guys just said is correct. Yet, I fear that you're slipping past a lot of the flavor and a lot of the, eat is not the right word for it, but it's what I'm going to use because that's what's coming to mind here. Like, it's not just that Conan is in a... Conan, ooh, the barbarian. No, Conan is, in a tavern. It's that it's this really seedy place with, like, I think it's like a swordsman from Hyperborea who's been, dishonorably discharged or ran away, and, like, you know, a young god, you know, Ruthunian, or Gunterlander, you know, merc soldier with a girl over his arm, and the woman stealer you mentioned is just the greasiest, scummiest guy being like, my bell god of thieves, I'll have that pretty in my hands by morning. And, you know, Conan, you know, goes over when he mentions the Tower of the Elephant, gently tugs on his shirt, you know, tries to get information, but of course this guy's just giving Conan a hard time. Oh, the Chimerian thinks he's an eagle, he's just gonna fly on up! And then finally, Conan questions the thief's courage. That leads to a scuff, which knocks over the single candle in the building. I'm pretty sure that's a line in there. And once that candle's relit, that rat bastard thief has his, you know, he's dead, and there's marks on his throat. So, Conan, did the Hyborian Age a pretty big favor by getting rid of this guy.
Yeah, man.
But yes, it's definitely a, what should be mentioned as well is that this is not King Conan. This is not Conan the soldier or the pirate. This is like him a year or two out of Chimeria. He's a young gun. You know, he doesn't have a lot of scars yet. He's a little bit unseasoned, but he's still very, very powerful. And in this adventure, he comes very, very close to getting in over his head, as even experienced Taurus, the thief there, does. But we'll get into that more later. I'm going to toss the puck on.
Yeah, I can't help but hop on this one because Ryan was like, King of Elfland's Daughter wasn't really for me. I think somebody else in the last discussion felt similarly, and it had, well, actually he couldn't join us, but it was the English guy in our who was in our clubhouse, and you know, it was very prosy and intentionally like anachronistic and archaic on purpose. This is a modern story, so you can see all of the literary devices, right? So like there's this alliteration, right? Like listen to this. I can't help it. Listen, because this is what Tanner's saying. It's gross. Like this is a tavern. In the mall, you could carouse and roar as you like. Honest people shunned this quarter, and watchmen well paid with stained coins did not interfere in their sport. Crooked, unpaved streets with heaps of refuse and sloppy puddles. Drunken roisterers staggered roaring. Steel glinted in shadows as wolf prey on wolf, and from darkness rose the shrill laughter of women, the sounds of scuffling and struggling. Torchlight licked luridly. Alliteration, consonants, you know, all the modern literary devices of, you know, so it's meant to be entertaining, and it is. So, all right, yeah, Prince, what is this story? What is this?
Thank you, Ross. I was going to take a moment to acknowledge the very respectable Bluto impersonation that Tanner just pulled there. Very apt for a robber's nest. Very cool. Also,
Thank you,
Shemite
sir.
coin clippers, and I think the wench was Bretonian. I was going to say this story is like an archetypal or almost like sort of Platonic sword and sorcery story. Very very simple structure, but it's kind of like elevated from a simple adventure story, not just by the atmosphere and of course the immaculate pacing, but once he actually gets past the monstrous spider in the tower, coated with jewels, even the outside basically has more riches than they've ever seen together in their entire thieving careers, right? So it kind of like beckons you on. But it's kind of like elevated past its simple premise when they encounter the titular elephant, and this is this this refugee from this ancient cosmic conflict. And it kind of shifts from him having to overcome it by wit and sword fighting to granting it, I guess, freedom in an act of mercy. It's really quite well done.
Yeah, you could definitely tell this was like, if Yarksa thoughts, it's like, that's just somebody's metamorphosis alpha character. It's like, what are you doing here? Like, oh, we got into a fight on Epsilon 4, and my ship got stranded here. And it's like, oh, okay.
It was kind of cool that he's like simultaneously is a totally inhuman creature. It's not quite mortal. He flew from here. He flew from the edge of the cosmos to Earth on wings that could carry him faster than light, but that have kind of like evaporated. But there's also a very I would say intelligible motive, right? It's just that they had he and the other space elephants, they had a conflict with their space elephant king, basically, and they lost. So now they're here, and they lived in the jungle for a while, and they watched like all these civilizations kind of rise and grow, and that kind of I guess it gives it a lot of dimension as well. It kind of gives you a feeling of awe that the world that the tower itself is obviously imposing. The story itself is maybe not so big, but the world that it inhabits is kind of like much larger. It's actually immense, and he manages to do that in as you said, like it's 20 pages, I think, in my maybe in my giant omnibus, but like about between 20 and 40 pages. So it's really quite impressive. Yeah, it's a great ass story. I love it.
Something I need to wonder about, just aloud to you guys, is that obviously it's a very well-known fact that Robert E. Howard, H.P. Lovecraft, Clark Ashton Smith, C.L. Moore, Edmund Hamilton, just a whole bunch of these people were friends and correspondents through their letters, right, and through weird tales. Part of me wonders if this is Robert E. Howard doing a polite counter-argument to some of H.P. Lovecraft's points of like how, a being from a higher or lower plane would be just utterly inhuman and alien and cause you to go insane. And here, the terrifying cosmic alien is, hey, I lost a war, my wings evaporated. Because remember, Cthulhu sleeps because of something in the atmosphere. After a fact.
Let me hand you the ball, Tanner. This is the next question. Let's start with you. Let's tie this to Dungeons and Dragons. Why does it matter? So let me preface this, and then I'm going to hand you the ball on this. So the way we got to this story was I said we proposed the book club in Mythic Mountains, and so we did King of Elfland's Daughter, and I can't remember why we chose that. Maybe I just picked it, or maybe we voted and people picked it. I can't remember what happened.
It was a good place to start either way, because
I may have said, "Hey, I think this is where we need to start." I may have even said that because I thought I think so. Okay,
I thought you were right.
So yeah. So
we rolled.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
We rolled and I won.
That's what it was. Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah,
won.
there you go.
That's what it was.
I don't think anybody was upset.
It was
though.
I.
Everyone
it was like who
yeah,
got
that's fine.
closest. Yeah, and so
It's a great episode.
right. So we started with this, and I've always had, like, ever since, like, looking into stuff like Princess stuff and other people that have talked about the literature of the game, I was like, when we had our first child and I had to stay up all night. I remember I would stay up all night, and on my phone I would read the digital version of the Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser stories, and I listened to Three Hearts and Three Lions as an audiobook. I was walking her, so I was doing all this late night stuff, and that's how, and it created this psychic shift, and it's part of what precipitated my spiraling into the classic adventure side of things instead of the OSR side of things. Is I was like, you know, it really changed my mind. But I had like these key things like Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser and Three Hearts and Three Lions. And I have not read very much Robert E. Howard. And basically you all, that is to say all the people in the clubhouse were like, what are you doing, Ross? This is what you're missing. Like, this is huge. You can't miss out on this. And one of our friends, Father Chris, had kind of made this suggestion that there was a relationship between even Tolkien and works like R.E. Howard's stories, because he reads literature. He read Dune, as everyone knows, etc. Right? And I was like, okay, I'm really behind on this. Hey guys, what should we read? And you all said The Tower of the Elephant is where you should start. And I was like, okay. And so, so I want to toss this question to you all now that we've like went back through it. Why does this story matter? And this story also, as Prince says, as a kind of example of a type of story, right? So this type of story, why does this matter to Dungeons and Dragons? I'm going to toss it back to you, Tanner.
Pardon me. All right. Why does it matter? First, a counter question. Why doesn't this matter? Because this is not just one of the great Conan yarns. This is not just a character who Gygax and Arneson had a very deep love for, and a lot of these gamer guys, that's not a great way of putting it, because we're gamer guys too. You know, just people in this field loved and still love, right? This is also, for, you know, the Conan nuts in the audience who are listening. There was the poem Chimerian, and there was The Frost Giant's Daughter, which wasn't published in full properly, or the proper version wasn't published until like 80 years later. There was the rewritten Cull story, going from By the Axe I Rule to Phoenix and the Sword. There was Scarlet Citadel. This is the first Conan story where we get Conan the Thief. This is the first Conan story where he actually goes into the nature of Crom, and how he's a god who will send you ill will and curses if you pray to him. He gives you the strength to fight, and that's it. And Conan prefers that to the philosophies and nonsense of the, you know, priests of Bel and such like. This is where we get to see just how scary and nasty the Hyborian Age was before Conan became king and started to defoo it. Pardon the phrase. This is a keystone when it comes to this character, what this hobby would become, and Weird Tales in general. So it's immensely important just on those facts alone, besides just being an awesome story. And I'll send the puck to whoever wishes for it.
So Tanner, you're saying that this is extremely important, and I didn't know this, you know, and I mean, so I just take your word for it that the story itself actually fits importantly in a kind of, I don't want to say canon. I kind of hate applying that word. I really hate when that happens, when people talk about books and stories. But the like you said, like this whole community of world creators in those days, this actually has an important place in that whole thing. So I didn't know that.
A better term for what you're looking for is keystone.
Yeah.
Kind of, if this is here in history, things change. And if it's not here in history, things also change in a different manner.
That's fascinating. I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah. So Steve, how would you say this, you know, and this can also be like I'd mentioned, we talked before we started the live stream, like the specific examples in the story. This is another one of these stories for me. I was like, oh, that's D&D. You know what I mean? So Steve, like, and also you could say, actually, these are ways that I think they've like departs from it too, because there are Appendix N stories where I've read them and I'm like, no, I don't think so. I don't think this is D&D, you know, or it doesn't make, you know, but I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
I've got, like last time, I've got a bunch of different things highlighted with a bunch of notes, one of which starts on that exact point. Sorry, I completely, while I was trying to open the other thing, I completely derailed myself here. This one's important to me because this is my favorite Conan story. But also it just does have all the elements of a D&D story for me, like an adventure. My first thing in here, you know, you spoke of the Elephant Tower, said the stranger speaking Zamorian with an alien accent. And my note is bold and reckless, the best attitude for adventures, reavers, and heroes. Just like, I heard you talking about this horrifically dangerous thing. Can you tell me more? And just to, I feel like this kind of cheapens it, but I'll say it anyway. You know, the DM threw out the hook. The player saw it, pulled on it, and went straight for it. Entered combat. So that's I think the first part of why this one's important to me for this. And then there's just different elements throughout the story that way to play. It's one of those books or stories that when I read it, I kind of want to put it down and go play D&D. Like, if I'm playing, say, like a game-wise, like Dark Souls, Darkest Dungeon or something like that, I'm like, Kate, we've been doing this for 20 minutes. I need dice. Like, let's go, right?
Yeah.
And this one, if I had to pick one, like, pulpy story to get me writing, to get me moving, this would be the one.
Yeah, man. You know, you were saying, like, not to be corny, but like the Dungeon Master and a hook, but you know what? This is like, this for me confirms an instinct, because I kind of flip that on its head, right? Like everyone in modern D&D says, well, the Dungeon Master is responsible for, and in this case, providing a hook. And I started saying, you're the player, you're an adventurer. Like, it's just implicit. Like, you don't need to, no one needs to be telling you to, you need to be doing, like, I think you found like a key element of these adventure stories that then carry over to the adventure game, right? Like, it's you should just implicitly be this troublemaking, crazy ass, I want to go do this crazy thing. And when people do that, it's fun and the game works. And when you have to torture that out of someone, it doesn't work. And that's that right there. Oh, we have like found, okay, this is a core, this is how this works, you know? So that's huge. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was done, but I just want to add on to what you said. Like, you have to be bold and reckless to do this kind of stuff. I don't know if any of you guys in your younger days did like urban exploration or anything like that, but we had some grain factories where I live, and we went all over in them, and it was terrifying, right? You got your flashlight, it's dark, everything can hear you, anything that's outside, or anyone that's outside of that ring of light can see you, you can't see them. And in these places, you know there's a monster in there, you know there's a trap, there's something, but you need that money. So yeah, these guys have to be nuts.
Yeah, man. Yeah, all right. By the way, it's showing on the recording, Madam Baron Edna the Iron-Handed. That's the
Awesome name.
That's the Baron that is about to lay siege to the keep of Tharnberg tomorrow night, actually. So
a double siege. We're sieging the siegers.
Yes, someone sieged, and then someone sieging the siege. It's getting nuts. Yeah. Oh man. Anywho, yeah, siege set. Yeah, Ryan. How is this related to D&D at all?
Yeah, I mean, like everybody else said, this is like just archetypical stuff. You get a hook. There's some challenge. No one can do this. Well, I didn't come to the game store to eat chips and fuck around. I came here to play D&D. I'm gonna go do it. You know, you get the hook and you go do it. But then also in the process of doing it, there's like, it's not just like, oh, how do you scale this tower? He's Conan. He can just do it. Damn it. But also, like, you get over, you got over the walls, and oh, there's tigers or lions in here. Oh, there's a trap. Okay, well, wait. Oh no, there's a guard. Oh no, there's another NPC. There's like rival adventuring parties, and they're here too. It's like, hey, what's up? Were you gonna team together? Yeah, sure. Wink, wink. Totally gonna team up. And then they work together and just go through the whole process, and then you find, I was totally expecting the elephant to be the big bad. And then it started to get like sad, and that made it sadder for me. Like I was totally like, oh, he's gonna fuck this elephant up, but it's like, oh, I just want to give the elephant a big old hug. Like I feel bad. Like you used to rule the world, and now you're like a slave for this punk ass wizard that
He
Conan's
gives him
just
a
gonna go
Sumerian hug. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Hug him
Which
with
is
your
death.
corded
Yeah.
muscles.
A merciful death. Yeah.
But yeah, you go through it, but it does sort of turn it on its head. Well, it's the big bad, but he's not. The big bad has been brought low into this, like Tanner was saying, like H.P. Lovecraft's like it's so indescribable. Let me spend 4 paragraphs describing how indescribable it is. But it's like, no, this is just an elephant man. He's still a big old man. So I like that turning of the big bad. And then it's like, oh, now you have to go get the other guy. So
Yes.
there's a lot of the archetypical stuff, but then there's the little, changes.
Yes, to all of. But I must first.
Go ahead.
I know you first.
I just take that. So yeah, like we found something about D&D in this, I think, right? Because like, there's a level 1. He's not level 1 now. He's level 2 or 3. Fighting man. I don't know if he's gonna watch this. I'm gonna resolve your order by the time this happens, so you're gonna find out about this. So, he's in the he's traveling the wilderness, and he's taken a quest essentially from a patron player, someone who is a baron, who's a powerful like a cleric of this powerful cult, and has promised him, like if you can sway these orcs from this fortress, basically you can have all these riches. And on the way, the original D&D Book 3 encounter just has wizard. What is that, right? And I don't think you're wrong at all in Dungeons and Dragons to say that's a monster. It comes towards you and it uses everything in its power to kill you. I think you're right if you do that. But in the context of this horrific world of a sex trafficking slave trader, who might just kill you. He might just have his goons like surround you and kill you. Or, the greatest thief in the land, who's like some level 8 thief you encounter in this thing, or all these other things. You encounter an alien god, and that's like the perfect level 1 thing to me. Because I hate, this is, to me, this, one of the people that left the club, it's the classic thing where they looked at their character sheet and they said, I don't have enough hit points for an alien god. And that's one of the people that left the clubhouse. And they were just like, I just can't do anything. They became paralyzed looking at this. And Conan just talks to it. And it just starts like crying. And literally Conan the Barbarian is like feeling sorry for this alien god. It says it right here. That happened. And this creates this entire situation where he resolves it without using, he overcomes the giant spider. Absolutely. But the sorcerer, he did not overcome. He did that through trickery and negotiation and interaction. And so I have a player that's like talking to this sorcerer right now, and it's probably gonna like polymorph other him or something. He's gonna like screw around with him. And it's going to be this thing where he's interacting with the fiction in the context of this tremendous threat. And I suspect this is a level 1 adventure, is what I would note. Anyways, Lane, how is this D&D?
Well, okay, yeah. Kind of like everybody was saying, one thing that like the setup of this is it's character driven, just like the player should be the ones. But I also think it's interesting. The structure of this is really, it also kind of gives a highlight of how the game master can really set the field for the players. Because really, the story starts off in a tavern. Of course, that's pretty archetypal in this game before D&D. But at that point, it could have just as easily gone into a separate story about fighting off slavers or rescuing women. And this is a setup. There's multiple hooks. The hook that this plot goes with is this tower of the elephant, and then this big, unstealable treasure, but it could have easily. I mean, the story opens up with just description of all these people from all over the place. So I'm rambling a little bit, but one thing one note of my notes as far as a DM, it just shows you also do lazy DMing or world building without putting a lot of effort into it, because he describes like how many different countries. But at this point, especially, Howard didn't actually come up with a big giant world, atlas guide of his entire world building, like some people do. I'm not myself. I've never done that. He just comes up with all these descriptions and he sets a scene so well that there's all this country and this country and these people are like this, and maybe there's some veiled racism. That's a whole other discussion. But
I mean, they're kind of recognizable, right? But that's part of the charm of his stories, that he describes, like, what is it, Shemites or Numidians or Picts or something like that, and you immediately get like a vivid image. He doesn't have to tell you 2,000 years of like fictional history for you to understand what these guys are about.
He implies all that fictional history, and I'm pretty sure he didn't actually write it all. Which, of course, as a good game master, shouldn't necessarily have to write all that stuff. You do it for yourself. Yeah. That's not the game. You know what I mean? And then he sets the stage, and like I said, it could have been any number of adventures, but the players don't take the bait for the, fight some slavers. It's like he just kills that guy. Well, now what? Because I want to do this other thing. It's almost like a derailed adventure that just goes awesome. Because it could have been, if this was a D&D setup, it would have been about fighting slavers, not about stealing a gem.
Yeah.
I could totally see that. It's like, oh, you killed the guy. It's like, oh, no, you were supposed to go with the slaver and then go rescue the queen. It's like, oh, shit. Oh, wait, and then there's a elephant god.
Yes.
By killing that one slaver, he probably did save the queen. But the smartass answer is, that's next week's adventure.
Yeah. It's like, I'm throwing out all this world building, didn't do all the work on all of it, but I made it seem like I did. And they picked the one that was supposed to be too hard. And like, there's this unstealable thing. That's like, maybe I got an idea for a high level adventure if y'all ever make it that high.
Yeah.
Kill that guy. And we're doing the high level one. This is a level 1 adventure.
It has that open quality to it, doesn't it? Is the thing. Yeah. Man, that's really cool. All right, Prince, why does this matter? Both not just as like this particular story, but you said, well, this is like a common story of this type. Why does this type of story? Why does it matter for D&D? Also, like on like a practical level, like how does it plug into the game? Like, why does it matter?
Thank you. Great question. Well, others before me have kind of like, I guess have already articulated it, but it's follows a pretty straightforward, simple structure of like an adventure. You hear some rumors in a tavern. A very important distinction to make is that you're self-motivated. This is something that for new DMs who don't have a background in any like sort of like literature, but maybe more in video games, they have trouble grasping this point. They have this idea of like, adventurers are just guys who do jobs for like a wizard or a guild or something like that, which I always thought was very, it was a lot more lame. I always liked the idea of like that in Sword and Sorcery, these heroes are more self-motivated. They don't wait for somebody to post a job notice basically on the town square for them to maybe chase rumors of treasure. They're kind of like more driven. There's a series of obstacles. Again, very straightforward structure, and I would say the only point where it kind of deviates from what I consider to be like sort of the spirit of Appendix N, which kind of permeates D&D, is that, and this is really more of a, I mean, it's great in the story, but like maybe the game in a game it would be different. Is that as soon as he actually gets to the elephant, he doesn't fight the elephant. Instead, they have the elephant kind of relates its backstory, and Conan decides that in exchange for, I believe it offers him only sort of like escape, it will in fact offer him a Cimmerian hug and squeeze its heart's blood on the heart of the elephant, the gemstone, and deliver that to the wizard, who is promptly sort of like I believe he's ensnared or trapped within the gemstone to suffer a horrible fate. And I think probably in a game, you would want to make that like more interactive. You would want to like incentivize a structure where maybe the players deal with the either the wizard or the elephant themselves, which is a bit more exciting. But otherwise, it's it follows sort of like the basic structure of of a D&D adventure, including NPC. The idea that you encounter other adventurers that are also like sort of like exploring the region, I thought was really cool. A series of different challenges which are bypassed in various ways, through both violence and trickery, or in this case by literally climbing to the top of the tower instead of going through the bottom. So a dungeon design principle, right? You have multiple options of entering the dungeon. And yeah, I think in general the atmosphere is also very important. This sort of like heroic, super vital spirit that permeates all of or a lot of like Robert E. Howard's work is really good to have in the back of your mind when you're doing dungeon design.
If I could, I think the self motivation is important, because you're
Yeah.
not really going to get that choice of, hey, we're going to go steal the unstealable, gems of the biggest gems you've ever seen, if you're doing milestone leveling. It's like, well, we're going to go be the heroes. We're going to go with the slavers, because that's going to get us to the closest milestone, because hey, we saved the slaves. Okay, that's a milestone. Or it's really like, nah, it doesn't matter so long as we do something. Or like DCC does, like, oh, it's an encounter. Okay, well, it doesn't matter if we do this encounter or that encounter. But if you're doing gold as XP, well, that's specific. It's like, well, okay, the slavers could be, we could, go after the slavers and maybe get the slaves and sell them ourselves if we want to be, chaotic or whatever. But it's like, oh no, we're going to go to the gyms. Like, that's the one we're going to do, because it helps us. That's the intrinsic motivation. It helps my number go up so my character can level. It's specific, not arbitrary.
I think a different choice of like risk and reward, I do think is like at least I applied it in my own campaigns, and it is always very, very awesome to see players sort of grapple with that and go like, you know what, we're going to go high risk, high reward this time. Flavors, that sounds boring. I want an unstealable gemstone the size of my fist, in this cursed tower that's never been robbed. Let's go. Yeah, no, that's
It's shocking to me.
There's some good stuff
how few D&D players, old and new, and somewhere between old and new, refuse to accept that a key part of the game is being a greedy treasure hunter. Like, you are going for the big score. Gold for XP works when you're getting better at getting more loot. It's like...
Yeah.
I
would say
wonder,
ambitious, yeah. Maybe you don't necessarily want to keep the gold, so not greedy in the classic sense. You might not be motivated by the gold, but maybe you're motivated by the glory and the esteem
Greedy
that
means
such
I'm very
treasures
good at
bring.
making the wrong word, as you can see. Maybe greedy, more like a prospector is greedy.
I want to make. I don't know if this is a disagreement, but I want to take this idea of the self-driven hero as being actually a key thing. Like, oh yeah, this is key to Dungeons and Dragons, like the
Old school
play.
Dungeons and Dragons, I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah, old
It
school.
is.
Pre-Dragonlance.
So I want
Because-
to I want to take this idea of the self-driven hero and say, yes, it could be materialistic. That is, and that makes the game run. Like, if you just XP for treasure, it works, and people will do it, and they have fun. But I suspect, so Tanner and I, we also are doing a sci-fi kind of a sister club to this, and we're going to start going through pulp sci-fi.
Starting
And
with Winds of Gas.
Winds of Gath, E.C. Tubb, and Doomerest is very much the self-driven hero. And he's driven by material things and desperation, but he's different than Conan. And I've been looking at this, and I found a connection between pulp sci-fi and the American Western. Like, so there's this connection between this pulp fiction stuff that's going on and Western stuff that preceded it. And it has a similar character. I think this is like an ontological thing, that the heroes are fundamentally different than fantasy heroes in myth, in that when we read King of Elfland's Daughter, we all came to the conclusion that by the end they actually did not have any real agency, and I still loved it. But ultimately they were bound by the weave of fate, or the will of God, or the great rune of the great elf king, or whatever. The heroes are ultimately bound by their fate, their Gilgamesh or whatever, and they come to the lesson to learn that they're woven into destiny. They're a pagan hero. And I think so. I just want to take Ryan's earlier point. This is a suspicion I have. You're like, this is Texan. And I think that might actually be a key here, that this is an American hero, in that it's outrageous, because he inverts that heroic archetype and says, and I was looking at a story today where I can't remember what it's called, but he encounters this woman who's been enslaved and raped and everything. And she tries to sell her body to him. And he looks at her and he says, why would I do that? I'm like literally a muscle-bound superhero. I could just take you right now if I want. What do you have to offer me? And the reason that matters is not because he's grotesque. And ultimately, Conan saves her and accepts the deal, and then just lets her go. And I think the cool thing about Conan is neither of our inclinations on either of those 2 points are true on their face. Like the first point, you'd say, man, you're gross, saying something like that to a woman in that circumstance. And then later he says, you can just go. And we say, oh, wow, you're so noble. And neither of those things are exactly true. Conan looks at the reality of the circumstance. And that's the same thing he does in the bar. Like, it's just like, this is how this just is. And on that basis, he shatters it. And he says, this is not how this will be. And that's not what a mythical hero is supposed to do. A mythical hero is supposed to fulfill their destiny. So I don't know. That's a suspicion I have, is that the Dungeons and Dragons hero is the person that can say, this is what I'm going to do. And you ought to just do that from the outset. I don't know. That's just something I'm going to throw out there. I don't know what y'all think about that.
Really important points that I think should be made. And first is not just that a lot of these guys were reading Westerns, were reading sci-fi, and a lot of these stories did end up in a lot of the same magazines. There was more comforting crossover. It's also that Robert E. Howard was a straight-up gunslinger and amateur boxer before he became a writer, which was his passion. He was a huge lover of literature, folk story, and history. He lived in like one of the last frontier Old West towns, which is why he's so good at writing like
like it's mid Great Depression. Him describing the town, he may as well be describing like any Hooverville that any town across America would have. It's just they speak instead of having a Mexican accent, they spoke with Zamorian. It's like you could just literally just copy and paste it, coupled with his like Tanner said, his more athletic background, and to probably autistic, like I just don't understand things. Tell me about that. Like I'm just gonna pull up and just sit beside you, killer. Tell me things. Like you could totally read into that too.
I think if we're going D&D cliches on somewhat, you could also a counter argument is before there was the law versus chaos dichotomy, Howard was already on the side of chaos as far as civilization versus anti-civilization. Right?
Oh yeah.
He's at the beginning. He's talking about how horrible and barbaric all these civilized people are, and they have these societies that are that are seen as actual civil human build up the height of civilization, and he's showing that the barbarian is truly the civilized one. And that's kind of a thing with Howard. I mean, there's some of the cliches, like, you know, he was a Texan, and Lovecraft is the Anglophile who thought, like, you know, anything that was anti-society and culture, or the right civilization, so to speak, or civilization lifting people up from barbarism, was how you progressed. And so he's almost in some ways the more lawful side, whereas Howard is almost like an inverse of kind of, I mean, of Lovecraft's ideas of what's actually true and good in humanity, sort of
Right.
thing.
You could
Sort
totally
of.
read that as like a European versus American. Like, oh, Europeans are high society, but they just fought World War I like dogs. And then Americans, we're such barbarians living in Texas in the dirt, but we're not slaughtering millions of people, daily.
Yes.
So you could read that into it as well.
Oh, it's totally there, I think.
Well,
Taking
and
that Texas thing out.
Lovecraft was a city guy, and he loved the city. He did. He loved it. But
Yeah,
I'm going to push back, and I'm going to argue that because I thought the same thing actually. Because I thought, man, this is my heart. Like, because I felt similar. It's just a sentiment. Like, I think society is corrupt. Like I have this sentiment. It's just that's all it is. I don't know though. I don't know. I think more. I wonder if actually what it is it's more a sense of this is just how it is, and because what keeps coming up when I look at it is whenever he's confronted with society, he sees it as a lie. Like it's just a veneer. It's just one temporary layer. And he talks to that woman, I think, in that story I was looking at today. And he says, you are from the land of like books and buildings and laws and things like that. And you're not going to survive here. And so he just takes her back there. And it's not just contempt. It's just you look at it, and because he does that in every situation. Conan looks at a situation, and he's like, "This is what's real, and this is what's false, and that's what matters." Like I thought about today, like everyone's like, "Oh, he hates sorcery." Does he hate sorcery, or does he actually know what it is? Like you know what I mean?
True.
Well, like so, this is a distinction that I don't know if that distinction makes any
I'm
sense.
going to disagree.
Yeah.
With the take on sorcery, I like the truth take as a contrast to like sort of the kind of like decadent and confused, muddled kind of perspectives of society, which of civilization, which I think comes up in The Elephant as well, where they mentioned that Conan spent some time listening to basically the philosophers of that like Zamorian city. Discussing things, and he basically came away with it. He was like, "Oh, these people are just nuts. They're not finding any truth here." But when it comes to sorcery, I feel this is more something where Conan kind of instinctively knows that he shouldn't deal with it. That there are some, there is some sort of like evil, and there are some powers where he instinctively fears them. In fact, I think, and opposes them. I'm not sure if that means that they're like sort of fake. I think it's more that he knows that they're like inimical and they'll bring him no.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to draw those two connections. Sorry. I didn't mean to say that it was fake as in the same way society is. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, no. I meant to say that he sees it and he's like, that's fucked. And I can tell. Whereas other people could be seduced by it or
right.
Yeah.
Conan is like too simple. Well, simple's not he's like too straightforward. Basically,
he's too
He's
pragmatic.
more enlightened through his
pragmatic
barbarian.
to get tricked into it. Yeah.
There's a simplicity there. If he just doesn't want to mess around, like how does he say in the beginning? These civilized men are far more brave, or talk a lot brave, talk pretty bravely, because they're people who don't think that they're just going to get a sword through the skull when they when they're disrespectful. So he would the barbarian, even though he was just going to try to kill the guy who's rude to him, that's still there's still a dance there amongst the there's an etiquette there amongst the barbarians, and these guys are just and these guys are just yapping, and he just knows that no wizards, those guys are, I don't think there's been a good wizard in even any of Lovecraft
one wizard
stuff,
friend,
or
it's an evil wizard.
Is there
friend.
one wizard friend?
There's one in the novel Hour of the Dragon, and he works with one in the Scarlet Citadel, but even then,
that's right.
Conan's really put off by the guy. I forget his name, so Conan, the files are going to strangle me for this, but the wizard who helps him out there, Conan does not like how he'll raise someone as a zombie and just laugh about it, and he's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
Look, he does a little dance.
Yeah.
Sotha Yanti
yeah,
or
there's,
Lanti. Yes.
Thank
His,
you,
his
yes.
only wizard friend. Yeah.
Yeah, so he just does not have. He doesn't have time for all the subtleties, for all this.
I mean, there's another really great passage, and I think it's, don't quote me on it, but it's probably like the Rogue's House. It's the one where he
Sounds-
basically faces, it's almost like an inventor, and they're going through this palace, and apparently this guy, this priest, he has a way of like looking into different rooms using an elaborate system of mirrors that like this other character tries to explain to Conan, and you know, he tries to explain like mirrors to Conan. Conan just goes, "Ah, okay, it's magic," and then you know he lets it go and he keeps going. Basically, he doesn't care. Yeah, he just like,
And
basically
he's
gives it a
not
place
really
in his world and he moves on.
Like him saying that, he's not really wrong. Like to him, the effect is the same. Oh, you can bend
Yeah.
light through walls. Like, okay, that's magic.
Yeah,
Practically, it's the
sorcery,
same.
a trick, basically. Yeah, then he
Yeah.
knows enough. Okay, let's go. Yeah.
Honest, I gotta paraphrase another Conan story. I believe it's Queen of the Black Coast, where Conan says something to the effect of, "If life is but an illusion, let it be so. I fight, I love, I live, and I'm content." That really sums up the whole thing there, because people forget just how whip smart Conan actually is. He's just not
Yeah.
like scholarly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He's a
actually,
barbarian.
A linguist, but not
so-
like a bookworm.
so this actually,
Motivation. Go ahead.
and you know how far, where is, this is something that I brought up a lot with Lord Dunsany, like where is the author, where is the narrator, and where's the voice of the text? And it wasn't clear to me. And you know, like I could kind of see where the narrator was. So where here is the author, and where, and is this his world, or is this the author? And I don't know. And you know, you guys can tell me, but something that is to an earlier point about like, is this sort of a disagreement with his friend Lovecraft, right? Like Lovecraft had, Lovecraft had an ontology that, which was the, as Warhammer calls it, the laughter of thirsting gods. You know, like we're just ants or less, and there's this universe of capricious and uncaring entities for which we are utterly nothing, and that is the horrific reality of our existence. And it's clear that Lovecraft had the temperament and the personality and the fear and anxiety necessary to get that to page. And so opposite that, what I think is revealed in this story is an ontology that is entirely agnostic. It's entirely materialistic. It's trying so hard to be materialistic. This alien god is like, no, man, we're all nice. And we do light magic. Like we do nice magic. I don't like bad magic. And I come from a world of like nice elephant people. And to be honest, there's like all kinds of worlds out there that are fine, you know? And it's sort of like, you'd get the sense, because the story starts in this like hive of just awful people, which of course are in society. And then you confront the alien god, and the alien god's just chill. But the important point is, he's like, actually, the whole universe out there is like that. You're just in a bad neighborhood, bro. And so
There's a rug pull.
I don't think
sure.
the point.
Yeah, they had the war though.
Fair.
Yeah, I was
but
about to say they're nice enough to have a war, and
the
yeah,
point. No,
Koshaw's
hold
pretty
on.
cool.
No. The point isn't that like this is some friendly universe. That's not the point. The point is what Ryan said, which is, I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
This could just as well be
knows?
the same universe as Lovecraft with his
It
awful cosmic horrors. It's just a different perspective within it, as in like,
Same
who
as Myths.
cares what they think? You know, whereas
And also,
Lovecraft
Yeah.
doesn't
That
care so
is-
much as he's terrified by it, which is a little way of caring. Whereas Howard is like, just give me, you know, I'm more, because of I'm not thinking so hard about these highfalutin philosophical stuff, I'm more enlightened. Whereas once it gets you, Lovecraft, oh, you're terrified of everything. What a wimp. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really
there's
a
a little
need to make clear to the
there's a
readers.
rug
I
pull.
think.
Wow.
Yeah, of
Lovecraft
like how
and
the
Howard were best buds, so please don't
Yeah.
think
Oh,
these
yeah.
two were like mudslinging each other.
Oh,
right?
no.
It's
But they were
very
playing
close.
with
think
the same
We'll,
thing.
we'll
Yeah.
get, we'll get back into turns here. I'm sorry. Let's start with Steve. Steve, what were you saying?
So there's a bit of an additional rug pull in this, because he's the barbarian is like, no, I don't like all this crazy cosmic magic stuff. And then he says, no, actually, we're all really nice. And, we came, and he's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. He's like, yeah. So would you mind ripping out my heart and squeezing it onto this gem so that you could murder that wizard over there? It's like,
As my last wish, murder someone.
I guess I could. Yeah. You just do me a favor, shrink him into this. Like it's like, oh, that's how we have to do it. Okay, yep, back to hating your guts.
Frontier justice.
What were you going to say, Prince?
I was going to say that, we can probably sort of like, I guess we can tell his, Robert E. Howard's look on sort of the universe from the, again, the very short sort of like sentences that are brilliant. Also in that story, I guess, Tower of the Elephant has everything because it has Crom. It kind of like, when he describes like the religion of Crom, that's kind of, I feel, that's sort of Robert E. Howard's, philosophical ethos where, you're born into an uncaring universe. All you get is basically your moxie, but you don't really need anything more. Like the universe is like a scary place, but no, you've got your guts, and you're gonna have to hack it with that, right? That's really all you can kind of expect.
And if you ask for help, you're gonna get shit on. By
but it's not. It's like very close to Lovecraft, I think, but it's just that in Lovecraft stories, the protagonists are a lot more passive, and except for the boat captain that hits Cthulhu in the head with the steamboat. But for the most part, the characters are a lot more passive, and their actions are a lot less effective. Whereas in Conan, it's the universe is like a mean place, and you kind of just have to be tough and enjoy in your pagan way, kind of like the immediate pleasures of it before an inevitable kind of like gray death.
Yeah. That's very sad.
Howard
Especially
freaked out
knowing
life.
Howard's life, it's like, oh man, I just want to give Robert Howard a hug.
Yeah.
Well,
man.
he did sunset himself, of course, at the end. So we can, it's not a joyful sort of hopeful philosophy. It is kind of like I guess in a way it is sort of stoic. Although of course chasing riches and glory, even though it's ephemeral, it's not really a stoic philosophy. It's also kind of like ultimately self-defeating, but what are you gonna do?
Would you? So I'm sort of new to these stories. Would you say that they do have this sort of immediate hedonistic quality where they're aware of their futility, or
Conan likes the twinges.
as an alternative, like to the earlier quote that was mentioned, is it more like, no, the life I'm living is what is real, like that all that other crap is just, that's not actually what is experiential is the quality that matters, because and how does this apply to D&D, right? Like I want to bring it back to that as like what is the world of D&D? Like I'm becoming convinced, I think it's the Player's Handbook for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe it's the DMG. It says a D&D is a world. And whenever I look at it, like the one that made me fall in love with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons was the Assassin. So I started reading the Assassin the first time, and I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't a set of mechanical principles and buttons to push. This is a series of obligations and relationships for a world that I'm in, and as we've been playing original Dungeons and Dragons, I'm becoming convinced it's a world. Like there is the world of original Dungeons and Dragons. So what is that? How does this speak to it, or does it not? Like there have been some Appendix N works where I'm like, that, I either at the time thought it didn't apply, like John Carter. When I first read Princess of Mars, I was like, this is stupid. No one can do this at level 1. And then we started playing OD&D, and there are John Carters moving around on the map at level 1, and they gather armies and go have a crush on somebody and siege a keep because they just like a girl. Like, so it's a real thing. But Yeah, does this say something about the reality of Dungeons and Dragons, in a concrete and technical way? I just want to toss that back to you all, and not knowing as much about Robert E. Howard.
Well, going back to one of our earlier points, I think it does point out, like we talk about Robert E. Howard versus Lovecraft, and I think you could throw Clark Ashton Smith in there to some extent too. Like, it shows the world, to be playable, you need characters, and I think that's the difference. And Robert E. Howard does, like. I'm sorry. What do you
mean? In order to be a world, you have to. Can you explain that a little more? I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we talked about the similarities in some ways. Say a Clark Ashton Smith story or a Lovecraft story, you could say that the world building, on some ways, there's some big differences, but in some ways he's setting up a world the same way that Howard is. The difference is those ones don't make as good games, at least for D&D. Maybe Call of Cthulhu is a different thing, but because the characters, you need characters to have adventures in that world. And like, let's be honest, if you read Lovecraft, there's not a lot of adventure. It's just horror, you know?
Yeah.
And
the world
people do things, they learn things, then they die, and they don't actually take any actions. Clark Ashton Smith has, Hyperborea worlds. It's kind of like somewhat similar to the Hyperborean Age from Robert E. Howard, except it's all super decadent and everybody's terrible. And so in some ways, there's not as much adventure to do because everybody's just so busy being terrible.
CAS definitely gets half points. I don't know if I agree with that. If anybody's read Zotheek, half of those are basically just sort of sorcery stories.
Yeah. Oh, no, but
yeah,
the tone, I guess, is less
different. That's true. It's much stranger.
Although I am really looking forward. There's a Zotheek book coming out for Shadow Dark and in DCC that I'm super excited for.
Definitely not immediately, but down the line, I'd love to do the Zotheek stories. Not to get too raw, I would French kiss those stories so they were a chick.
Yeah.
A horrifying, decaying chick.
It'll be years before it gets out, but the book that is, they're also redoing a very nice collected anthology.
So this goes back to Prince's point, right? So like that a key thing for this that makes this distinctly important for Dungeons and Dragons is how central the hero, and I mean this almost like not like in a mythical sense, that it's ontological, that there's this thing in the world that is distinct and important and affects the world in a completely different way. Because Prince, you were talking about how, people had this conception that you have this naturalistic quality to being a character. Oh, well, we go to the tavern because that's what you do. And, oh, well, there's the wizard and we need some money anyway. And it's like,
or a force of destiny even. Yeah. Like if you go to basically the ultimate wizard, the big wizard in the sky, the forces of goodness demand that we do this quest.
Yeah, that's right too. Yeah,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Please.
No, that's right. Yeah, like, and that sort of ought to maybe be separate from something we'll talk about maybe when we get into Three Hearts and Three Lions and Moorcock, is what is alignment? Because sure enough, I've had this cause problems in Dungeons and Dragons, is the sense of, well, we're all good people here and we all want to do good things, and the irony is they're compelled to do this. It doesn't turn out, I'm just being honest, has not turned out to be satisfying ultimately. I had to sort of piece it together, provide the entertainment, fiat, and then the worst part of all, this is the really horrifying aspect of modern Dungeons and Dragons to me, is that if you operate on the basis of, well, we do this because we're good, you end up not being good. And that's what's horrifying, is people start pressing their mass murder buttons to do all that goodness. And
murder hobo.
I feel with alignment, a light touch tends to go a long way. I won't say treat them like you're fans of different football teams. There should be like a bit of a difference there. But I'm I grew up in like the 2E era when people had all these, I don't want to be mean, but I call them like brain worms about DMing, and alignment. This was just like an extra cudgel that the DM would use to sort of like, I guess kind of like badger players to do what he wanted them to do, and to not engage with the game, and to kind of like take it back to the central premise of what you were saying, Ross, is that I think sort of Robert E. Howard's ethos, at least as expressed in in many of these Conan stories, is a really good match for D&D, because it's take the world as is and make your way in it, and earn a high score, and that goes well with with a game. The DM just presents the world, and it's up to the players to navigate that world. And there's very clear incentives, sort of like there's a clear way to determine whether you've done a good job or a bad job. And it's just like how much XP do you get at the end of the session, how much gold do you gather. But the DM doesn't necessarily, have a lot of like extra rules of like, no, you have to do this and this. No, this is all like up to the players what they kind of want to do. So it's a really good mix. It allows for like a wide range of approaches and a lot of freedom. So for a game, that works really well.
Yeah,
I think that's an important thing too. Is like in Conan, there's no Sauron. There's no big bad driving everything.
that's a good
It's
point.
like there's just fucking gods everywhere. Crom's over here, so and so's over there. You got a black spider in this city. Like gods are very local, and they don't really mess with each other. It's like, okay, you believe in Crom, come on in. I don't care. You got a temple over there. They're not doing anything. Nobody's really controlling. No one's in control. No one's driving the world. It's a very important point. It's like this is just the world. There's
it has an
GM.
open quality to it. That Lane was talking about. Like it has,
It's open and it's pretty flat. There's no real hierarchies. It's like, okay, wizards are trying to get up, but they get snipped. There's no, there's no.
There's
gods
definitely
controlling
some. I would say there's definitely some. There's definitely relative differences, but it's just that he hasn't filled in basically the very top is left blank. You never really interact with these. There may be like super powerful cosmic forces there, but you don't see them operate. They don't really interfere. You get to the point where I think, what is it, Phoenix in the Sword or something? There's definitely a point where like some 2,000-year-old wizard throws Conan a bone to help him fight some sort of demon monster. And I also definitely feel that there's differences in ability of these various wizards. Wasn't there a 2,000-year-old Stygian sorcerer basically who comes back by reincarnating? Basically, he magic jars the body of one of his his followers or worshippers, and then he returns, or was in a ring or something like that. So there's definitely like a hierarchy there, but it's just that the top is not it's not all the way filled in. You don't get to the point where it's not neat. There's a lot of like unknowns in there. It's not a neat and clear cut thing like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. And clearly it doesn't matter because the stories work, the world goes on, and the top layer's not interacting with stuff. Not like Sauron.
Right.
Sauron's building an orc army. If you guys don't do something, he will. Clearly, I imagine, like, I think Lioness is a very important, like, Arthurian version of Robert E. Howard, because like their top level wizards, they're busy, all right, busy like fighting each other in a Cold War. So it could very well be that Robert E. Howard's top level stuff, they're just too busy to notice the ants down here, and that's all they are, is just ants. And it's like, okay, I don't really care.
Noting as well, Prince of Nothing, is that same 2,000-year-old wizard from The Phoenix and the Sword, the first official Conan story, is also the same guy who kicked Set out of the Northern Reaches and into Shadowed Stygia.
Oh, nice.
For what it is worth.
Set mention.
Yeah, that's one of the.
It's kind of funny. It took
dogs.
1 hour, literally 1 hour and 36 minutes for a certain snake god to be mentioned.
Set mentioned giant snakes.
Yeah, well, that even shows like the top level, like Set. He's clearly not that high. If a 2,000-year-old sorcerer could kill him.
So let me take what I'm. Oh yeah, go ahead, Lane. No, please go ahead.
We could also kind of like in some it's kind of regional. Oh well, there's this. Well, you go over here now. because
Yeah, and it's completely different. Yeah, this is my
Yeah.
other world that I play on Saturdays.
yeah, it's regional, and like there's you sometimes in a I don't know, like I like having in games. Well, if it gets too bad, you got to run and go hide somewhere else. Maybe.
Yeah, go to
Let the
Techno.
wizard make his
Go
orc
do
army.
other
See the
things.
consequences.
That's, by the
So-
way, I want to say I'm hoping Otherworld will prove to be like that, where I had this conception, which I think is great. I think it's super cool, of like, this is my world, right? And now I kind of would prefer it to be this social portal, like a portal into, and sure enough, we get done with this Bronstein, we talk about it, and if like out of the 15, 20 active participants, they're like, man, it would be really cool to do that Take a Mill stuff. We're like, well, do it. Let's go to that one now. And we just like, and then we're like, oh, let's do a pirate adventure or whatever. You know what I mean? And I take this, obviously this is sort of what people accuse pulp of, right? Is this sort of sequential quality to them. Fafhr and the Grey Mouser, my example is, there's just a whole story where they just wake up and all of a sudden they're in the Middle East and they're like, oh, we're on Earth now. How'd that happen?
That one
And
is
they're like,
amazing.
yeah, and then like I don't
Maybe the best
know,
one.
yeah, and I just I think that's that there is this idea of that openness. So let me take some of this and ask you all, like, to make it technical. We just only have about 10 minutes left, and then I'll go back around. We'll go back kind of in order, and then we'll get like the big ideas. Okay, so here's how I'm going to try to apply this right now. So Otherworld is going great. I just think it's so cool. And I remember when I first started doing the old school Renaissance stuff, there was this point where you do some kind of really baby sandbox, right? Like, and this formula still works. You take a group of adventurers at level 1, they have a town, you have a wilderness nearby with a dungeon somewhere nearby. You have D6 encounters in the wilderness, and it works. Like, and I had this sense of, very often, the less I prepared and did stuff, the better it worked. Like our old school essentials campaign, which I love. I don't want to sound like I'm crapping all the time. So Lane and Steve were both in that. We went for 14 months. I tried to really kind of like muscle in a lot of stuff. And I feel like that was a good learning experience for me because 95% of that game did not get used. And then Otherworld, literally, this is how Otherworld started, was like, I'll just try this thing on the side. I don't care. I don't know. Do whatever you want. I don't know. You know, like I just put no investment in it. And then all these people showed up and made it theirs. And it was extremely interesting when it became theirs all of a sudden. And I'm like, and I just had and now we've handed everybody these barons, and I'm just watching it, man. I'm just eating popcorn, and I'm just like, what is it? I just love it. And so here's what I'm going to do. So we have the Traveler one. I was going to say, oh, well, you know what we should do is we should roll on the patron table, and you guys should make something. And I sort of veered, I think, into modern RPG-isms, and I think I'm wrong. I think what I ought to do is just hand them the most important element on the subsector map and say, just do whatever. You just tell me. Because when we did that in the Matrix game, it created all this drama and it was really exciting. So is that a takeaway? You think, like, I'm hearing openness, a sense of like leaving this space open, and then the hero is this thing of existence in the world that's key to like this thing is a thing that exists and then can operate in this world and affect it. And there's something about this that is unique in this literature, fundamental to Dungeons and Dragons, which, by the way, sounds like the opposite of modern design theory, where if you go to a modern advice video, they'll say, you need to come up with your antagonist first. That's exactly what they'll say first. So, like, is this the takeaway? The hero and the open world. Is this what this is?
I mean, yeah, I think it obviously is, you know, what are you looking for?
Dungeons
you
and
go
Dragons.
Camping, you go camping not because it's fun to sleep on the ground. You go camping to go tell people, hey, this is what we did. It's, you know, fun in hindsight. if you create a world and you create a sandbox with toys to play with, if you get the right people, they're gonna, only boring people or get bored. They're gonna have fun. Some people just want to be led along. Hey, that's fine. We all work hard jobs, long hours, nothing wrong with that. But when you can get a sandbox in a world and you can really make it your own, I think that's where it's like you can reach a higher high than, oh, we went through the director's plot lines. Like, okay, sure, that can be fun. I don't think it could be as fun as like, hey, no, this is ours. That's Steve's castle. We fought there like 3 times. The orcs sieged him. We died to a man, but we kept his castle. Like you have that ownership that you otherwise don't because it's not yours. Like, no, this world is yours. I think that could be the difference, that ownership. And that's internally, intrinsically motivated too.
Go ahead, Prince. Yeah, so
I don't know if I would
go ahead.
think about like sandboxes when I think about Tower of the Elephant. I don't even know if I would recommend it for like the adventure structure, although that's certainly a good place to start. It's just like all you need is a snazzy hook, an adventure locations, 2 entrances, and a couple of protectors and a big gem at the end. I would just say, I don't know, the general atmosphere of the work is just very good. This idea of like it's kind of raw, it's kind of dangerous, it's exotic as well, and it's filled with like wonder and the unknown. That's like I think the most important thing I would take away from it. But yeah, also this idea of being like self-motivated and acting in a world as opposed to simply reacting, that should be in there as well.
If that's true, why does this one work so well? If it's about the quality of wonder, why is it that the sword and sorcery seems to make D&D work better than say a more hygienic, ordered, reasonable world like what's that guy's name that does the fantasy novels everybody likes, Sanderson or whatever?
Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, we're modern fantasy. There's sort of an explanation for it, like, you know what I mean. And people love these things. Why is it? But in my experience, D&D doesn't run as well. Like whenever I put what it seems to happen is when I take these conceptual systems, what I call you have the open system, the closed, and the conceptual. If this forms the conceptual system, it's like putting oil in a car. It runs. And I don't know why. I guess that's my question.
Well, I guess I'll try not to talk over everyone all the time, but I think the advantage of like this structure of like short stories in a world that's like gradually revealed instead of like something that's built out all at once, top to bottom, and revealed, in 3 novels, and then pretty much everything there is to know. The advantage is there's always still like stuff to do. Conan never really gets bored in the Hyborian Age. There's still places to go. There's still more wonders, right? You have all this history to work with, like forgotten ages. There's all sorts of creatures he could run into, ancient sorcerers. That's kind of like the appeal, and that works really well with especially with a sandbox game where you need to have a reason to explore. And if you paint everything in already, if you already know all the big players and the big stakes, then you won't be surprised as often. So it's less conducive to that sense of having a big open world with stuff to discover and stuff to do. Okay,
I'm gonna go around the table here, and this will be just kind of final comments. You can take one of these things, like the sort of ultimate telos of this, or you can just give me your review or your thoughts, just like your overall thoughts, Tanner.
Great. I'm just gonna rapid fire everything I wanted to get to and didn't get to. So here we go. The Master Thief we mentioned earlier, Taurus. What was not brought up is that he's sort of and I'm not the only person who's pointing this out, is a little bit of a Falstaff figure, because he's kind of hairy, he's got a big gut, but he's still like taken the hair from like dead women and like weaved this 150-foot long rope, and he's like stolen
That's
like this
crazy, man.
black lotus, which he uses to spray the silent lions, which either it's like a silent spell or they remove the vocal cords or something else, but those lions are completely quiet. That is really chilling. You know, and Taurus is able to get all these unique tools, so definitely look through the Conan stuff if you need a really unusual, really creepy, but not like something like Lamentations where it'll like shrivel your arm if you use it too much, right? Magic item. The spider we mentioned, that was very much a focal point for you guys. Like, I know what you're thinking, audience. A spider is a spider. This spider is the size of a pig. It's intelligent. Like, Howard writes how, like, it kind of, like, knows to, like, tire out Conan and, like, when to strike and stuff like that. It's only because of a well-thrown treasure chest that it goes down. And note that, its bite mark, which it puts on poor Taurus there, it's 3 little pricks. Not like a traditional spider bite. It's like just... and I believe some venom that landed on Conan actually created a scar, so a spider is already creepy. Howard made it extra creepy. One note I'd like to bring up, and we'll get into alignment a lot more when we get to Anderson and Moorcock and other writers. In this early stuff, and a lot of like fan and official tends to put them this way, Conan is depicted as very chaotic neutral in the AD&D 1 sense, where it's very much, you know, you against the world, your right to die on your terms. When he sees Yakosha, you know, he's been tortured, he's tired, he's just miserable. You can see, like, the beatings of the chaotic good king he's going to become later, like, and that's, I'd like to politely counter-argument you. I think Conan is very, very noble. He's just really rough about it with the Chimerian hug and stuff like that, and just letting the woman go, like, you know, it's like...
Bro, that's a great point. Like what's so cool is it's like original D&D's alignment where, you know, listen, a bunch of like slave traders, yeah, that's bad. It is bad. It's very bad. But that still exists in the realm of law, actually. When we're talking about chaos, we're talking about some really bad stuff. Like that, this is inimical to any kind of, you know, like that, and maybe that kind of goes back to when you were talking about sorcery, you know, Prince, that's like this is another category now. And that he fills this role as a hero against that. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. Okay. Sorry, Steve. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, one final note, and then I'll pass the buck to Steve. Sorry, buddy. One figure that we really should have talked about more and didn't is the wizard himself, Yara, and how he doesn't appear much in the story, but Howard just puts this like presence around this guy, because one time he turned, go figure, a foreign prince who was giving him guff into a spider and then stepped on him, and how, like, you know, he built the Tower of the Elephant in like one night for the spell, and just he's the real power behind the city. And really, go figure, he gets his comeuppance where he shrunk to the size of a spider, and Yakosha gives him exactly what's got coming to him.
Did you guys imagine like a 1980s sword and sorcery thing? Because he says, yes. and then the pygmy figure, and I imagine this like shriveled animatronic, like that, with like one hand longer than the other. Like, I was like, this looks gross. I bet. I don't know. Anyways.
Oh, no, man, he's shrinking. Like, that's the classic sort of the classic shrinking somebody and putting him in a crystal. That's what I sort of pictured. That was great.
Oh yeah. And now Steve, on you.
On that note, what I had pictured was like in the cartoons where they're getting zapped, they're going and there's just those ever decreasing little like outlines. But I'll do a rapid fire here too. So my first thing, I already said the bold and reckless thing. So this got brought up a couple times. Ryan, you had mentioned this. Something I really like: the different religions around the world being they're acknowledged as gods that are real, but disinterested, and they're off doing their own things in their own places. There's this guy, that guy. Oh, we got a temple over there. He's fine, right? I love that approach in games because it's just makes sense to why this cleric of Rando is here. Just they could just do that. What else have I got? Oh yes, Yara came not often from his tower of magic, and to work evil in some man of some nation. Wizards should never be trusted. That's my note. They died without a sound, muttered the Sumerian to Taurus. What was in that power? Having wild items with cool names that are so rare that but require the particular tactical use. Powerful, costly more than ways of the one. I love it. And then when he talks about how he got it, earn it. Yep. I think for an item like that, that's a whole quest, whole adventure. Like that can be your huge dungeon crawl. You got this black powder that will kill everything. Use it wisely. You only get once, right? Anything.
Careful where you breathe.
Yeah, and then let's see. Conan's savage instinct is what wheeled him suddenly when the things came out. It's like when you pass the surprise roll. He just escaped the thing. Again, you had just mentioned the dead woman's hair weaving and stuff like that. This time, all caps, earn it. And then Midian didn't even see what happened. He just died when you fail the saving throw versus poison.
Yeah.
And then the gigantic black spider, such as men see only in nightmares and dreams, doesn't have to make sense. You just have to kill that spider. Those are my notes. Before, like last time, I just got lost in the sauce and I was just in the story. So rapid fire, all done.
That's great, Steve. I'm glad you got those points because someone needed to say, "Hey, this guy filled their save." That's somebody. I'm glad you. Yeah. All right, Ryan, your final thoughts.
My big takeaway was like make friction. If everything's like Lord of the Rings and like, oh, the elves are good and the dwarves are bad, it's like, okay, oh, there's an evil dwarf. Oh, that's interesting. That's friction. I can mess with that. I can get scratched by that. Like the local gods, that's friction. If it's like, oh, everything's Greyhawk Pantheon, everybody knows what that is. They don't really talk to us. But oh, this is a local god. What do you mean there's an elephant on a tower? Oh, what's that? And then to make like the gods, they don't all have to be like just metaphysical, like pie in the sky gods that you pray to on one day a week and they maybe help you out. Like it can be like a Mesopotamian god where like, hey, this is the god of Babylon. It's a thing. It's like a structure, or like, you know, the elephant. That's effectively a god. So that's what I took away of like make stuff weird and have friction, because those are the things that are going to catch your sleeve and just spur action. It's like, hey, I want to go talk to that good dwarf. If all dwarves are evil, what's up with that good one? That's what I got from that.
Dude, that was great, Ryan. Yeah, I'm starting to look again now. I tried to keep it a little dry as I was moving into this Bronstein stuff. And now I'm like, no, I'm going to make it weird. And as I look for convergences, I'm just going to boot that convergence into the weird, into the convergence. Yeah, this makes me think back to like the Dungeon Crawl Classic stuff or some of the OSR stuff where you have these items that have this one use and this really weird hit. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. And the gods, I think that's something. Yeah, man. Yeah, it should be like, well, I don't know, the way the ancients viewed the gods. This is the god of this city. Of course it is. Yeah. If we don't pray to this rock, which is actually the heart of the lover of the god of the great city, blah blah blah, then like we will not get rainfall, we'll die. And
or you go capture that god, and it's like, we have your god, we have your flag.
Yeah.
Now what do you do? That's huge.
Yeah.
That's a lot that would never exist if you use just like just angels in the sky. It's like, okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back to Steve for a second, then we'll go to Lane. What were we gonna say, Steve?
Oh, I was gonna wait till the end. I just wanted to shill a YouTube channel called Grimdark Half Off. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of this guy. He passed away about a year ago.
Man.
But this guy loved Conan lore, and he's got hours of describing the different gods and stuff like that.
Wow.
Highly recommend it. Amazing stuff. you got to check him out. His legacy needs to live on. This guy was so passionate about it. That's all. I just wanted to shill that because it was on topic, and I thought,
yeah, no,
guys
thanks.
need to see this. So,
yeah, okay, Lane, what are your takeaways?
Well, I think everybody else made probably much better points than I can think of at this point. But I was just going back. I think we talked about the openness of the world, and this setup of this story does that. But it also really proves the point. You got to have all the options. You have the openness of the world and the sense of wonder, but you also got to be able to pull off those hooks once you give them. And like they took the hook. And they don't necessarily, you can see almost a stream of consciousness making up a dungeon on the fly, but they work. So that's the tricky part, is making sure that those hooks work when you get there. So this is a good example. I mean, I don't know if you can come up with a better one of like, once you get there, the hook, it's just weird enough to keep you engrossed and interesting.
Right.
It's great.
Yeah, that was sort of to Prince's earlier point about adventure design, that, this needs to provide categories and pathways that can be entertaining, that players can actually interact with and actually have some sort of tangible result. Okay. And so, Prince, last thoughts. So you're our guest. Welcome. You get the last word.
Oh, thank you. Very gracious of you, Ross. No, there was one last point I was going to bring up. I do feel that we can, by the way, could have easily gone for another hour. I love Robert E. Howard, especially even this story alone. There's a lot to unpack. There was one last point about sort of the naturalism of Robert E. Howard's world, which I really enjoy. So there's very strange and profound supernatural elements in there, like this sort of alien elephant god, but it's all embedded in a world that's very plausible and kind of believable. And what I like about Robert E. Howard's work in particular is that he very often uses kind of Conan fights normal men or animals about just as much as as supernatural terrors. And I think that kind of keeps the adventure. It gives it a sort of grounding, and it gives real weight to the supernatural terrors as well. Because if all he does is fight weird OSR ghost monsters or whatever it is, then they kind of lose their impact. But here he faces lions and guards first, then it's this creature which still has one foot in the natural world. It is still something recognizable. It's a spider, but it's big sized, it's intelligent, maybe going by the hints, maybe the wizard polymorphed someone into it. You don't know, right? They don't bother explaining. You don't need to. It's much more interesting this way. And then at the very end of that, that list, there's the space elephant monster, which is obviously completely bizarre and unnatural. So this sort of mundane grounding, I really appreciate that, and I also love seeing that in D&D as well, to kind of grounded in naturalism. That's my last point and takeaway thoughts, Ross. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Prince, and thanks everybody. Let's not get into it here, but I'm very excited about us voting for our next piece, which I'll announce on the channel, whatever we're gonna cover next time after the voting closes. But anyways, thanks a lot, guys. Like last time, this was a ton of fun. I love talking about these things, and I had a blast reading it. So sounds like you guys had a good time too. So
I live for this.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming and chatting.
That's
and
awesome.
Thanks everybody for watching, or if you watch later, and have a great night.
Till next time.
Good night.
See ya. Great night.
Always a joy.
This was great.
See
Take
you
care.
guys.